Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.
From the first country in Africa that took independence, or that got independence in 1957, from the colonial British master. Some have had military coups, some have had successful and successive elections conducted. But one trigger that has created all the problems that we see, which has made it very difficult for in the first half of the 60s, 70s, was the military being very opportunistic. As we have said, and we have said so, the opportunism of militarism, how did it spring? Sprang because of the rivalry, power, money, and revenge. Most of the militaries that have taken power in Africa come into revenge or avenge the death, the killing of their former leader, or the killing of their own or their kin, or the killing of brothers or politicians that they favored. So how long will Africa take? And how long will it take Africa to review, to have a fatigue evaluation exercise that can bring Africa, that can change the modus operandi of our normal status, from the normal status to a new dispensation, which can bring about a better Africa. A new dispensation is needed in Africa, in order to find the equilibrium which is equal to the world order that we seek to call ourselves the global market. If some countries are democratic and others are not, there will be no harmony in our trading. Therefore, Africa is affected with those factors that until there is a complete holistic change approach, and all African countries desist from conducting bad elections, which complications that lie ahead. And I hope every African listening to this television and watching this television will take a stock of what they want to do for Africa. First of all, thank you very much, viewers. Good afternoon in Nairobi, Kenya. How are you, Miriam?
A very good afternoon to you, Doc. Good afternoon to our viewers. Good morning, good evening, depending on where they're tuned in and watching us from.
And a good afternoon to you, Mr. Ellis Wanda, historian, teacher, the man himself right from Manchester United. Good afternoon in Nairobi.
Good afternoon, Dr. Masanga and every person on board, and any other person that is watching us from wherever they are.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon in Nairobi again. How are you, Daniel Wesonga, our investigative journalist, and Elif Wanda is our in-house analyst on all African matters, and he writes history for Africa, tells us more about Africa. Daniel Wesonga is an investigative journalist with us, our investigator, and I hope you have something you have investigated for us. Good afternoon in Nairobi.
Good afternoon to you, Dr. Masanga David. Good afternoon to my good brother, Wanda Wesonga. Good afternoon to my colleague, Miriam Ogutu, in our headquarters in Nairobi, and all Africans watching this particular show this afternoon from Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, Africa, and the rest of the globe. It is my pleasure to be on this particular show this afternoon.
Good afternoon, all of you. Thank you very much, those watching us. Today's show is it touches every African. We are selling our land to investors to grow food and export. And I want you to mark this very seriously, Miriam. We are calling for investors to come to Africa to take chunks of land, to grow food, to grow trees. And guess what? In 50 years to come, Africa will be importing food from the same guys in Europe, because you might not have food. They would have stored it and you don't have food. Has anybody asked you why Britain does not have food and does not have hunger, doesn't cry shortage of food? Is there famine in Britain? No. I've never heard of one for the last 38 years I've been here. I've never heard that there is famine. I've only heard shortages. But we are calling investors to come willingly and unwillingly. Some of them are returning to Africa, taking chunks of land to do what they have done in Europe better. So is it our own problem? I want to tell you, I'm going to make a very serious case this time. Is it a scramble for Africa or a mere change of guards? Is it a scramble for Africa or a mere change of guards? One president in Africa said we shall bring fundamental change, but we ended up having fundamental problems. Wanda, Miriam, I'm sorry. When the people take over governments in Africa, in West Africa, the soldiers who come and commandeer to remove governments, Wesonga, both Wesongas and Miriam, they say we are bringing fundamental change, but we end up having fundamental problems. Have we been bewitched? We now say we don't have enough food. I was very happy with His Excellency President Dr. William Ruto in Dakar. He said something very interesting, which is like, it's Matanga talking. I was very impressed. Your Excellency, wherever you are, when you get this clip, that is my position. I was very impressed. You said, why are we here? Why are we here in Dakar talking about food? Yet we should be talking about employment and other things. We are talking about food, yet we have weather, we have the good climate, we have Africa. 10% of the African savanna is the only thing we have used. Wanda, you were there on Friday on our Twitter space. I was the only one apparently given a chance to speak to the experts. And I think you were happy with my statements. I've never disappointed you. I hit my point home very nicely to the experts. Why 66 years of independence? You are still crying of food? No borehole. Northeastern part of Kenya, Miriam. The governors pump in money. Now they are looking for your money. I'm here. I'm very far. I don't know what they are doing there. More money will be pumped in there, but no one borehole will be pumping water out by the end of the fiscal year. How do you explain that you are going to game to bury somebody and you are carrying? You are saying what? I saw something, someone is carrying water? No. How? I saw it on, and I was very embarrassed. Game is one of the places which has the best boys, best brains, the best mediums. There you are. She's from Game herself. Is this someone is trying to ridicule you? We carry water, we carry what for burial? Excuse me. Hello? Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Africa that we have. This is the Africa that I have told you that today and tomorrow I am going to begin preaching like a Piero Lumumba. Matthew chapter 10 verse 14. Walk away. Walk away. I'm going also to begin walking away, walking across Africa. Very soon I've been invited. This year is very hectic for me. I have lessons starting from February 6th, and which I believe Miriam will be one of the students listening incognito, but receiving the best material. 2 hours. I'll be lecturing pro bono on subjects which some Miriam can deliver for. You can set your questions, I will answer them. But I will be moving around Africa to tell Africa we have a problem. We are being scrambled again. Are we scrambling or we are changing guards? Is it a mere change of guards or fundamental change? Is it a fundamental change or a fundamental problem? Ulisikia wapi? Ulisikia wapi? Wewe. Ulisikia wapi? We alisema, when we take power, we have taken this power in order to create fundamental change. It has become a fundamental problem. I don't want us to mention the names, but you yourselves will find out in Africa, in West Africa, the generals are coming out of the barracks to say, we need a fundamental change. They are changing from a frying pan to fire. That is what I want to talk about today after Miriam has done a house cleaning exercise. Miriam, take it away. Remember my proverb. Remember my best book for every of these African topics. Matthew chapter 10, verse 14 onwards. When the thing starts hot, walk away. Don't leave the dust. Wanda is a good Christian. Unfortunately, is a bad fan of a very dangerous club that does never win. So take it away. I am contented as Liverpool. We have not raised the people's expectations. We are playing moderately. But I don't know whether you are playing today again. You might even be in more shocker. Miriam, take us through the house cleaning.
All right.
But Africa, with a lot of rainfall, trees, we are carrying water from where? From River Yala?
Doc. Wonders.
No, it's not me. I heard it.
Wonders,
I am very far away. Miriam,
Wonders
I am very far away. Don't kill me. I'm just reacting to what I heard, I read.
Yeah, Wonders other team is playing today, Gor Mahia, somewhere in the city. So anyway, and the issue with the people of Game are very annoyed with the sentiments, by the way. They're saying it would be nice if the donation, especially if the food was taken to where Kenyans needed, places like Baringo, Turkana, because Gamians just had and the rest of Siaya County, I was there 2 weeks ago, they had a very bumper harvest. Matter of fact, they're still struggling to find a place to keep the surplus. So they're saying that is a mockery of the Kenyans who actually need this help. So they were requesting if they could just take it to the people who actually need help. But, I guess it's just politics of populism, I suppose. But we'll leave that there. And Game has the best streams, of water. We have that. So
you have River Yala
water. We have tapped waters. We have all that. We have all that, so we don't need any water brought in.
No, I'm just asking for. No, honestly, not me.
Game, not even just Game, but the whole of Siaya. You go to Ganya.
I'm on your side.
And
I've always been your side.
Our environment is the same. So what Gamians are saying, because I've been speaking to them, I said, the government is coming to feed you people for the next few days, and they said, for what? We have enough. They just harvested. They have enough that they can't even store. They're looking for storage.
Miriam,
so
my first comment. I agree with you, so Miriam.
They're requesting wachukue hiyo chakula wache wapeleke to the Kenyans who actually need this food. The Kenyans who are dying from hunger in Turkana, in northern part of Kenya, in Baringo, and places like that. So that, hata kama ni politics, let's not make mockery of the people who actually need this food. So that's what the people from there that I've spoken to have said. But let's just leave that and go to the
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Miriam. It is indeed a pleasure. In the sense, it is a pleasure that such sentiments come up in order to make us not very happy. Not even a pleasure, but it shows there is a saying that the heart of a volunteer, the heart of a volunteer, or the eyes of a mourner with tears rolling down sees better than the eyes without tears.
And a lot
so the people of Siaya see better than
and
us outside.
For them, I think their perspective of that is maybe it's just a counter move, because former President Uhuru Kenyatta, being that this man worked for him under his administration and he appreciated his service, and of course he was very quick to constitute his former cabinet and said, hey, this was our colleague and we have to do what we can to ensure that he's offered a decent send-off in appreciation of his contribution. And I think because former president did that, so they're seeing this as a political move. It's just a populist politics that is not even necessary, especially during this time. But the Sunday Standard, the main headline, who will blink fast? Today, Azimio leader Raila Odinga holds the second of his planned nationwide protest rallies against the Kenya Kwanza administration as DCI launches investigation into rigging claims. So the story, you'll find that on page 5, 6, and 7. Chebukati parents, they're saying, son, we brought up, and they're very proud of their son there. Magoha, the man behind Steely Face. You'll find that on page 8 and 9. The Sunday Nation, Raila faces DCI probe over IEBC results dossier. And then come we stay is not marriage, no matter how many years spent together. That is according to the Supreme Court. You'll find that on page 24. And Kenyans are shocked by that, even confused. Jubilee MPs plot ouster of Uhuru men. That story is on page 5. Other newspapers from across Africa, the Sunday Punch from Nigeria. Pro-Adeleke protest in Osun, Oyetola's loyalist stage carnival. The Nation, also from Nigeria. New Naira pressure mounts for extension of January 31st deadline. Daily News from Zimbabwe. Apathy reigns as new COVID wave hits Zimbabwe. All right, that's concerning. The Standard, also from Zimbabwe. Mnangagwa allies turn heat on the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission. The Citizen on Sunday from Tanzania. Government says no unrest. Tanzania is safe. And then the Sunday Vision, that is from Uganda. Top O-level schools selected inside, and the same districts ranking there. So that is what we have, and some of the newspapers from across the continent of Africa. So, Doc, back to you. Or do I introduce the topic and then we continue? Because I think you already did.
Thank you very much, Miriam, and thank you for the opportunity. Mine is just to tell you about the papers in London. The papers in London are not good ones for a read today. Hospitals at home plan to save NHS. They are planning to send people home and get a few people to visit them at their homes. This is something, this is worrying everybody in London now. If you have any sickness, you just pray that it doesn't become worse, and pray to God that things change, then you can be able. And that was the newspaper. That one is the Sunday Telegraph. And the Independent, United States of America protests. Here 5 blacks killing another black. So it is a very sensitive matter at the moment. How do you fight? I think it is most of the people outside who is people asking questions. 5 black policemen beat up another black man, kill him, and they have been saying the racial discrimination is the white beating there. If it was the white, they would have banned the entire New York. So people are saying, there you are, double standards. It is the scramble. Fundamental change creating fundamental problem. Everywhere. We are fundamentally changing the whole policy. Then we have to change the problem. And the problem now here is 5 black guys, policemen, shot a man instead of arresting him. And there you are. He didn't even have the gun. So why do you kill him? You know, Miriam, I've been telling you every day that if you want to discourage me from walking around the world, take me to America. Call me. I love to take a journey along with you, but don't take me to America. I'm sincere. Take me across the bridge, not across the ocean. And across the bridge. Europe is like across the bridge. You are Mediterranean Sea. 1 hour, you are cooked. This 8 hours. First, the water problem. Then second, the crime. The crime on the streets of New York. Something small can lead you to your death. There's no safety there. So here we are. Then the Telegraph. The Telegraph, the Independent has just told us that probation crisis, victims killed every 3 days by offenders on watch list. In London, also another problem. They release people from prison, and then this guy said, you are the one who gave evidence. You are the one who is making me to be jailed. They're gonna kill you. So our system is also breaking down in London. Sunday Express. Rishi at war over migrants. Angry civil servants vote to scupper Prime Minister's plan to tackle asylum crisis. What's wrong with asylum crisis? We create problems ourselves. If Qatar is indeed a Muslim country, which it is, why can't Qatar build high-storage buildings and save the Syrians? Hello? Miriam, am I thinking rightly here? Why is Qatar more concerned about African issues, scrambling more for Africa? Yet Qatar is a Muslim state. The Syrian refugees that are suffering crossing the Indian, the Channel Island, the Channel waters in the Channel, English Channel, suffering in the cold, drowning in Mediterranean Sea. From Libya, from where? These are Muslim, most of them, from West African states. Qatar could build high-rise buildings, give with that money, give back to refugees, but they only look to buy property. They look to commercialize every entity. We are coming to see the problem I've been telling you. And if you think I'm wrong, just give it a few years. So the British Prime Minister is under hammer over this question of civil servants are saying angry civil servants to scupper Prime Minister's plan to tackle asylum crisis. Asylum crisis does not mean those who are already settled in the United Kingdom. I think there are people in this world who wish others bad luck everywhere. I was talking to somebody, a medium, who was saying, if you are an asylum seeker, you are already there. You have been there for even 20 years. And you have been given political asylum, what we call asylum in the country. But you, if you are just applying for asylum today, that's the difference. But if you have been resettled in the United Kingdom, you have been working hard, you have been paying your taxes, you have your national insurance number, you have your property, you are settled there, you are not killing people, you are not trading into marijuana, you are not in criminal activities. Even if now you are in criminal activities, the law in the United Kingdom will work on you, Medium. It is not, there is nothing they can do to you. They have to do it there. Lock you like they lock any British national. Whether you are yellow, black, green, purple, like my sister's nice dress, they lock you up. I'm using the opportunity also to give compliments. So these are some of the things. So they will lock you up according to the laws, Medium. They don't put you on a plane and they say you go and sort your problem. You have raped people, and then they put you on a plane to go and rape people where you are going. The law there puts you in jail. So I'm asking, why doesn't Qatar, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates help the refugees, the Syrian refugees, the Iraqis, the Afghanistans,
Yemenis?
They are fellow Muslims. They are suffering. They are suffering. So why shouldn't Qatar says it has money, but what Qatar is doing, it always goes Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates. They come to Mogadishu. They fight in the streets of Mogadishu. They make the intelligence system of Somalia to fight each other. I am not going to keep quiet about this. Watch out. I told you it is Matthew chapter 14, chapter 10, verse 14. My brother Wanda, don't forget that chapter. Always, before you come to the show, touch it. Touch it. It is a very good chapter. It will give you salvation. In fact, when you are a Manchester United fan, it's better to read this chapter, because it gives, for us in Liverpool, we have settled it down to say we don't walk alone. Mungu wako mbele. But Manchester United, ujui kama Mungu wako mbele au hakuna kitu. So thank you very much. The Mirror, top Tories, Russian oil millions. Unaona, the Russian oil has arrived. The scandal. You see, you remember the Somali oil, Soma oil company, Miriam. Now the same guys that are conservative cash scandal, where they have been receiving money from the Russian oil barons, oligarchy. Allah. You see, for me, I told people, in Britain at the moment, we just did an election. Mutupatie, tupige kura. Wacha tuchape kura kabisa. Tuingize box. Wajamaa hao warudi kwa opposition. Wakae. This Rashi, the Prime Minister is an East African. At times I sympathize with him. But maneno yake, maneno itakuja scandal. There's one big scandal that could bring the oil government, again the Prime Minister could go, the Russian oil. It has come back to hold those who have been receiving the oil. Now they have a very big problem now. Strictly stars in 3 a.m. bottle buster. Why? The Helen versus Bro Terror. These are stars keep people in Britain fighting at 3 a.m. You know, these younger boys and girls, when they have the money, a pound is so sweet. And you find them spending it. I know it. Celebrities, medium everywhere. There are some celebrities in Kenya. I have seen some of them on Facebook. Some of the behaviors are, you know, is it money that makes some people behave that way? Some ladies wear pants that are 2 inches away from privacy. What are you showing? You are showing who? You take a picture with your night dress on your bed. What's going on here? Mr. Wanda, what's going on? You go and wear a white night dress and take a picture. Unaonesha nini? That's suggestive. Do people really know this subject that I took in terms college? One of the teachers told me, one of the lecturers, a very senior lecturer, a Mzungu, told me, when you pick up journalism or investigative journalism, there is one thing that you never do. Don't display yourself to the audience that takes you into different direction. So if you are advertising a bed, why don't you dress up properly and advertise a bed in good normal shoes? Lakini wewe unaleta kasi-through night dress and unakaa kwa kitanda. This is what is this company in Kenya for mattresses? Where Songa Daniel, you seem to know these companies. Sleep Well mattress or Sleep Deep or what? There's a company there. Miriam, there's a company for mattresses. They advertise their mattresses. Then you come and what is that company called? So in short, the social media is also a problem in not only in Kenya, not in everywhere, in Africa, in Europe. These two younger men on the Sun newspaper, too late, they started fighting after drinking 3 a.m. strictly stars in 3 a.m. bottle bassa. All of them are key people in London. They have to give a good audience, a good example to our younger generation that is on holiday, that is just suffering without cold, without in winter, without gas. Some of them are just with blankets. That is what it is. Thank you very much. That is all the news from this place in London. Let's kick the ball. Thank you. Good afternoon in Nairobi. Good morning in London.
Very well, thank you so much. And the world's most powerful nations are once again competing for the control of the abundant natural resources of the African continent. Some say and describe this phenomenon as a new scramble for Africa in reference to the first scramble for Africa, which took place between 1881 and 1914 and resulted in powerful European nations dividing, occupying, and colonizing the continent. Superpowers like the US, China, and Russia, as well as some key European countries and less powerful nations like Japan, India, and Brazil, are currently active in Africa. Some energy-rich Gulf countries are also racing to consolidate their investments on the continent as they seek to expand their economies beyond oil and gas sectors. Foreign military presence is also growing on the continent under the gaze of counter-terrorism efforts. Djibouti has agreed to host American naval and drone bases that conduct operations in the Horn of Africa and beyond. Many other nations have also established military bases in the country, including France, the former colonial power, Italy, and Japan. The French military base in Djibouti is hosting troops from Germany and Spain. On the other hand, some of the parties to the GCC crisis, such as Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have established military bases in Eritrea, Somaliland, while Somalia is hosting Turkish troops. Furthermore, the U.S. has been increasingly involved in the fight 63 under the leadership of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, the former chairperson of the African Union Commission. But this agenda does not include a clear and coherent strategy on increasing foreign presence and competition in Africa. And furthermore, African leaders seem to lack the necessary political will to counter these efforts and protect the continent's vital interest. And that's where we start our conversation this afternoon, Doc. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Miriam, for that brief introduction. I think I have removed my glasses so that I can go for this topic very vigorously and without any reservations. From 1884, we have had Africa under the hammer. Bismarck in Berlin decided to take Africa to pieces and separate it from each neighborhood to neighborhood, tribe cut in the middle. One tribe the other side, one tribe the other side, the other border. This indeed was a well-planned, orchestrated design to make sure that they keep Africa a divided continent, a divided world without unity or purpose. The divide and rule tactic that was used in the scramble, the partitioning of Africa in that time, has never ceased. River Nile was already there. Who discovered Lake Victoria? It was already there. It existed. Why is it that Lake Victoria was named Lake Victoria when we in Uganda know it as Lake Narubare? That's the real name of Lake Victoria. I don't know what people in Siaya call it. You have your name?
Isango.
Yes.
That is Lake Sango.
Isango. In Uganda, we call it Lake Narubare. We looked at that lake as our basis. The tribes around that region looked at it as a source of wisdom that you don't touch the lake. Who has made the lake? There is a God there called Narubali. Because it was, Narubali means the stone, a stone that never goes down, never disintegrates, never breaks. Strong Narubali. So we kept ourselves very focused on our indigenous situation, forgetting that our friends were coming to take pictures, Dr. Livingstone and Speak and Grant and Lugard and the rest of all these guys were taking pictures to go back and say, the Royal Geographical Club, believe me or not, I am a member of Chatham House, which is part of, luckily enough, Chatham House, we only do politics. Very good research papers in political science. We forecast what type of coup will be coming in Venezuela, Colombia, Malaysia, Myanmar. Those boys, the generals, the 5 generals in Myanmar, they take power when they are 5. So they control the nation in turns. You know, that's the analysis we do in the Chatham House. But can I tell you, there is a geographical club which studies only Africa. And if you go in, there is even a full house, a full building, only Africa. I'm telling you. It created a division. Is that division, Miriam, today the same divisions? Is it the same? Is it holding? There was a fundamental change that from 1884, Africa became partitioned, and new states were brought up, colonized, administered, given ideologies. The French brought assimilation. The British gave us English, which we are speaking today, and taught us how to go to school, how to create, defend ourselves, how to grow crops, which type of crops were needed for manufacture of cloth in Manchester United, in Manchester City, where Mr. Wanda should visit one day, God willing. So if you go to Manchester City, you find all the factories of cotton, which could have been, you know, manufactured cloth in Naitili in Uganda for the sake of my country. But because they needed that cotton, they needed that product, they took that cotton on the sea up to the water. The railway was working. 1900, the railway was in Kisumu, 01. 1934, the railway was already, around 1914, the railway was already in copper mines in Kilembe. And that you could run the train. You know, the train could run all the way from Kilembe. Unstopped, there was no banditry, there were no thieves. These thieves here who have just come of late are the Jangiris of today. There were no thieves taking that train from, you remember, the only thieves that were there, the Tsafo, money eaters, the lions. If they jumped in, they would eat you. But there were no people breaking into the trains. They took the cotton, they took the coffee, they took the copper, they took everything. So here we are. Today, as I take a breath, landed my mind, are we having a new scramble? Or we are simply changing the old gods to the new gods with fundamental difficulties? We have countries, let me mention, as I land, Libya. Who is manning Libya today? The Ottoman Empire, Turkey. Turkey mans, Turkey, Italy, UN, Britain are on the side of Tripoli in Libya. While France Russia, you can imagine, even Russia now, France, Russia, Egypt, UAE, Qatar, all of these are on the side of General Khalifa Haftar, Benghazi. And it is still a divide, it is still a scramble, because Benghazi Libyans don't like the Tripoli Libyans. The Benghazi are not the Sunnis. The Sunnis are the ones down on the other side. You see, the Tripoli guys, where Gaddafi came from. That's why there was a kingdom, and Gaddafi found it very difficult. And he overthrew King Idris. Idris is a Benghazi operative. He needed that time. And from that day, Libya was put under a very good hammer. We got what we wanted. We made Libya a great country. Later on, Muammar Gaddafi was killed. Look at the countries that are stationed in Libya today. France is on the side. France, Russia, and many other Western countries are drilling this oil. They have taken over, they have divided. I want us, at the end of this subject, where is the problem of Africa? Where is the problem of Africa? Miriam, where is it? Let me give you another country, Democratic Republic of Congo. Democratic Republic of Congo has changed hands from Belgium, France. Now you don't know who manages it. When you look at the government of Kabila, they had a very bad relationship with France. Later on, Tshisekedi comes in power. He begins to do very good things for the sake of the French. Somewhere the relationship soured because of African Union. Do you remember African Union writing a letter? Can you Google that letter? Jeff, can Jeff Google that letter? Where African Union wrote to everybody after Tshisekedi winning elections that we should never go to Congo to witness that election. The swearing-in ceremony. Can you tell me the president in Africa, how many people went? It was only Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president of Kenya, and the deputy president of Zimbabwe, Chiwenga. Why? And yet the AU itself had sent their peace observers, election observers and the monitors who came and said election was free and fair. Now, Miriam, tell me, if we are not mad, if we are not bewitched, what should AU tell us when it spend all our money to go and observe an election? Then it says it was not free and fair. Don't go and witness the swearing-in ceremony in DRC Congo. So Congo has remained in the hands of Tshisekedi. I don't think Tshisekedi has sat in an office and enjoyed the powers with his family. Since he took over, Miriam, it has been a whole problem, a problem after problem, problem after problem. Tshisekedi is one of, as soon as he took over, he became the chairman of AU again. The same AU that had rejected him now gave him a portfolio as the chairperson. He took up the mantle. A few days while he was there, a coup arrangement had been made for his removal. He flew back to Kinshasa. Now, if you look at what he has done, because he has fallen out with the masters. Who are the masters? Who are manipulating this whole exercise in Congo? You know them. Tshisekedi has chosen to go and bring Wagner, Russian mercenaries. Why do you bring Russian mercenaries when you have East African Stabilization Force composed of East African fellow states? Do you have confidence in them? No. Do you? I think the answer you Kenyans will give me, and that anybody can see, that if a man is hiring mercenaries, paying more money than investing in the same force, so that we get more equipment and which knows the terrain, you are bringing in mercenaries. Qatar and France have now taken over the role of Congo. Kagame is in a limbo. Museveni is in a limbo. His deal has been cancelled. They cancelled his deal with the oil industry. He cancelled it. Now something else again has happened. I don't know what has happened, Miriam. Again, there's a problem. The company that was supposed to take over has difficulties. It is in a limbo. In Tanzania, there is a limbo. The good thing with Tanzania is that they stuck on the Chinese. And they said, for us, we die with you. You do our part. Tanga to Mwanza, do it. In fact, if you go there, Miriam, the type of development that has taken place in Tanga is great. Very great. It will be one of the best ports on the East African coast. Delivering the oil industry, the refineries, storages, they are big. Tanga was not that type of town. Now it is the real town, the city that you can see. So if you come back to Mozambique, as I landed the mic, look at Mozambique. Total Oil Energies signed an agreement, now handing over to Qatar. And we have been complaining here, and I've been telling you that Qatar, wherever you see Total Oil, you will see Qatar. So how did the people end up dying in Cape Delgado? Some of them being leached, roasted, like a meat that you are going to eat. These are questions that are raising quite a lot of temperature on Africa. Is Africa being scrambled upon? The current scramble was mercantile capitalism. The previous scramble, the current scramble is commercial scramble. One wonders why a country without human rights record would like to mediate for peace in a continent 700 kilometers away, 7,000 kilometers away from their territory. What are the intentions? And one wonders why it is only Qatar all the time having links with terrorists. Taliban, Al-Shabaab, Chad. Have you seen that, Miriam? They are now in Egypt paying some terrorists to come for a meeting. Now they went and paid, they told Kagame and his friend, come for a meeting. What is the problem here? How do they find the links which normal intelligence systems don't find? If they have that information of key leaders of terrorists, why can't Qatar surrender this information to the intelligence systems in Kenya, in East Africa, so that we go for them? So do we have real partners here, or we have a problem? I land my mic by saying we are being scrambled on again. And earlier, or before I land the mic, agriculture. We are calling investors to come and buy our land, to come and destroy our forests, to come and build industrial parks, to destroy and build industrial parks. But we are not encouraging our younger generation that farming is one of the best occupations. If you go to Britain, small as it is, you find a younger man, he's taken up, hired a farm, leads the farm, and he has animals there. I'm telling you, Elvis, he has animals, he's feeding them. I have 4 Zimbabwean friends who deliver me fresh food fresh food from the farms in London. They have gone into farming. The eggs are produced, they are there. The milk is there. They are even manufacturing yogurts, which are exported back again to Zimbabwe. A product, and you are happy. We have Kenyan. There's a Kenyan who has a farm. I think Ugandans, we haven't gone into it much. Some of us went into nightclubs because that was the only thing that was easy that time. The money that I could grab of 12,800 pounds, which I got, I borrowed from a Shiloh who gave me and said, but every week you have to pay this much. I don't want it tomorrow, even if you get it cash. Even if you work in the club and get it cash, all of it, don't bring it to me until 6 months. Have you seen that? And I worked so hard, Miriam. I paid back the loan. I got that my club. It worked for 2 to 3 years. I sold it for 18,000 pounds. That was a very good, a good markup, which managed for me to pay my school fees, so many things for my children, and that I was okay. So when you look at that, I didn't go to farming. I wish I'd gone to farming, because I wish at that time I could have spent 20,000 and I went to sit as a farmer. But I did not have encouragement of anybody. If I had maybe somebody like a Wanda to push me or Miriam to push me, let's do farming. I was on my own and I wouldn't. I just said, what can I do? I could have done farming, I could have been very useful. So in Britain, they encourage you to go for farming. If you have studied agriculture, you go for farming. And you get employment, which employs many, many others. But in Africa, are we encouraging anybody going to farm? If you find a farmer who has got 5 master's degree, and then you ask him, interviewing him, how many degrees do you have? 5. What are you doing here? And those are the questions the journalists ask. They discourage you. So I landed the mic, Miriam.
All right. Very well. And Doc, you raised very critical questions there in your presentation. And that meeting that was happening on the Summit on Food Security, the facts there is 2/3 of the world's arable land that is uncultivated is in Africa. 2/3 of the world's arable land that is uncultivated is in this continent. And we're still here talking about food security and food aid and all these things. I think the leaders you have in this continent are jokers. And until they stop joking and they take their positions very seriously, it's a problem that we're having here. And a couple of other issues that you brought up, of course, giving examples in Libya, DRC, and what you've been seeing playing out lately. So I'll start with Wanda Wesonga of what the submission Dr. Matsanga has put up there. Are we back to the second scramble for Africa with what you've been seeing playing out in this continent?
In fact, when I was keenly following through the history as Dr. Masanga was presenting it bit by bit.
All right, I can take it. I come back to you in a minute. Let sort that out. Let Daniel perhaps take the question one. I'll come back to you. Understand that, Daniel, if you can hear me.
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, I agree 100% that we have a second scramble for the African continent. And I remember some time back I said, when you look the way the demographical partitioning of the world, we have the first world, second world, and the third world. And the first world is in America and the West. The second world mostly is in China and the Middle East and the Southeast Asia. And the third world now is Africa. But when you look at these worlds in terms of resources, you realize that the first and the second worlds have been able to exhaust most of their resources. And where there's opportunity now is only the third world, which is actually Africa. And that is why you see most of investors, most of mining companies, most of people who are looking for startups, even in technological field, they all troop to Africa. And therefore, Africa has become a continent of interest in terms of natural resources, human resource, and also in terms of global partnership in even security, counterterrorism, and all the other spheres that are quite vital to the developed economies. And therefore, Miriam, that is why we are seeing that most of these Western countries are coming into Africa, and for them to be able to get an edge in this continent, you realize that they form factions that are able to fight with other superpowers like China, and in doing so, it really puts the African people in a state of jeopardy, where we become, like pawns in the game of chess against one another. And in amidst this chaos, we have the competing interests of these world superpowers. But the greater implication of this is that we actually, in most cases, disintegrate into crisis in terms of wars, in terms of other leadership conflicts and all that. And you realize that now we as a people, we do not benefit from these power games that are played by the international players. And whenever you see crisis in Africa, you'll be pretty sure that soon after, you'll realize that actually the resource, a certain resource, is actually at the center of it. We've seen that in DRC Congo. We've seen that Dr. Masanga has talked about Cabo Delgado. We see that in the Sahel region, where the Wagner Group is from Russia. And therefore, Miriam, we have Western countries and the Middle Eastern countries and the Southeast Asian countries struggling for power, for hegemony across all of Africa. And therefore, this really puts the rest of the continent into a state of quagmire, which do not in any way benefit the African people. Rather, it benefits the strongest amongst these countries willing to take control of the African continent. I submit.
All right, thank you. Wanda, I believe if you're able to talk now.
Yeah, at least I can talk. I'm sorry about
it's okay.
What happened. I was keenly following through the history as Dr. Masanga was tabling it bit by bit, with him explaining the name change of Lake Victoria, then Alubale, the Lake Sango, all these, then adopting a name, then it is now a name that you're teaching the generations and the generations to come. And from it, and what is happening in Africa today, when you look at that history of Africa, it is a history of a continent that lost direction, that started living other person's life. That you'll be surprised that today we will teach kids not about Lake Nalubale, Lake Sango, or whatever, but we'll teach them about Lake Victoria. You'll be shocked that we'll teach kids not this African that passed Mount Kenya or Mount Kilimanjaro, but we'll start talking about Joseph Thompson, or we'll start talking about Johannes Redman. Then we'll amplify that and not about the Africans. You'll be shocked that we don't teach our kids about African agriculture, but we'll teach our kids about the agriculture in Mesopotamia. And therefore, these are persons who knows not where they are coming from, or they lost their history, and they are wandering somewhere. And therefore, what the rest of the world is doing, they only come in and plant whatever they want. The Qatarans have been too late to learn that, but they have finally learned that Africa knows not their culture, their history, or anything else, but instead they live other person's life. That not unless, as a people, we get to a point and go back to the drawing board, we go back to our history, we search ourselves and know this is where we came from. this is what we were good at, and this not. I mean, this what was introduced that we feel like is not okay. Then we'll keep losing it. Like the same history. When you go into to that history before 1884, during the time when we had the Imperial British East African companies, the same company being in South Africa, in East Africa, having companies like German East Africa Company. Those guys decided to divide African regions in terms of Africa's potential. Then they could easily, get what we had, transfer it to their industries. Then they used to bring us the final products, to which we were as well forced to buy or to purchase. Now look at what is happening today. We'll easily let go of cobalt and other minerals that we have in Africa. They'll go use them and we'll struggle into these shops, buying these laptops, these phones, and we will even compete on who bought the most expensive one. And therefore, as a people, the rain that is beating us is because we lost track somewhere. Then it becomes very bad that the leaders that are supposed to lead the flock in the right direction, they have decided to sing to the tune of whoever decided to move us away from the track. And therefore, I feel like the problems that we are having is majorly on grounds that we lost direction. Then we accepted without knowing that we lost direction. That we go ahead and teach other person's culture to our kids. Then we expect this is to grow and take care of the continent. If I'm told we really are sincere and really mean business, then we should start by teaching them their history, by helping them know where they came from, helping them know what they are good at. But if we keep on doing things the way we are doing, then this new scrambling that we are seeing is simply a proper version, an improved version of what we had or what our ancestors had. And if what our ancestors had is still making, we are still feeling the pinch, the pressure from it, then I'm trying to imagine the new version of scrambling. Therefore, this is a new version that is coming in that is more advanced. One that chances are we will not be able to unhook ourselves from it. That this is a version that is coming in when my brother Songa is learned, when my sister Miriam is learned, when we're having Dr. Masanga, doctor. But because they are coming in when we are now an enlightened group, then it will be a version that will be so hard for us to unhook ourselves from it. It is unless we put our feet on ground and start doing things the right way. But if we give room and chance that indeed the new scrambling takes shape and the new scrambling materialize, it blossoms, then chances are the generations and generations to come will now live the Hamanite theory that an African was born to serve. The racial superiority will now take shape unless something is done. Miriam.
Thank you so much, Wanda, for that submission. The enlightened group. But if we don't even know our history, because you've just, when you were talking, you just jogged my mind there. You look at the history that is being taught in our schools. Not much is being said about us before the colonialist came. So that seems to have been rubbed off, and now we just pick our story from when the white people and the slave masters came, and that's where we start our history, which I think is very, 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 very sad. And this could have contributed to the identity crisis that we have today. And of course, the history we even learn in our schools is very Eurocentric, is very Western-centric, has very little to do with us as a people, and so we don't get to know who we are. apart from a few, you trace this community, you trace your roots back to this and that, but that's just about it. They don't tell us what was happening before this the colonialists came. So that explains a lot in how we were socialized after that, and maybe how we view ourselves and our worth, because now we compare. Our worth is normally based on what is the standard of the Western world, and then we see how we rate there. So this created this dependency. There's a theory called dependency theory, and usually they created a system in a way that we have to depend on the West. That was something that was created purposely. So even as we look at the inequalities, the third world, and of course that came out after the Second World War, and the third world was meant to mean the non-allied movement, but it turns out now it became something else totally different, the third world, and now we're here, the third world and the developing world. And so it's critical. The corruption of our history. Now that I think about it, while you were talking, and also when Dr. Matanga was making this submission, I think has played a huge role in conditioning us to accepting some of these things that we have accepted. Because as we sit here and talk and see how all these powers are coming into this continent, taking advantage of us, and then you wonder, do our leadership see this differently, or can they see this is a problem? Can they see having these mercenary groups in the continent is a problem? Can they see Qatar coming in and this interest it's having in France and the US and China and all these countries? Can they see these people are just out here to benefit themselves and has nothing to do with us? And you wonder, can't they see that? What is it that we're able to sit here and look at and talk about every day, but our leaders and the kind of decisions that they're making have really nothing to do with the benefiting of the black race, of the African people? And you wonder, what is the disconnect? It is the conditioning. So very interesting points that you've raised. Doc?
You see, what you are bringing up is exactly the real problem.
Yes.
And nobody's addressing it. First of all, we come from an inferiority complex ourselves. You have been elected by 93 million people. The first trip you make is United States of America, London, to seek legitimacy. Surely? It comes back to what I told you. If I become a person on African continent, for you to get a Ugandan visa, you will pay me 500 shillings per visa, dollars, 500, even more. I will keep my Maction force with more animals growing up and producing more. I keep my Renzol gorillas, they produce more in joy. They are not going to die. The River Nile is still there, it is booming, the electricity is coming, some is coming to Kenya. We are lucky. Have you seen how some of us in East Africa are very lucky? Electricity in South Africa is like gold. You can be on a live station in South Africa and the power goes out. So a big economy in South Africa, called South Africa, has no power. And we are buying more generators like Nigerians. The good thing with us in East Africa, Kenya, Uganda, power in Kenya has reached the last mile. In Uganda, it's almost everywhere. Even my own mother's house now, switch Kakia is watching me. She is with Mulika Mwizi, if it has anything. Yeah, they are watching right now. There's power there. The line has passed. But in South Africa, you sit in a restaurant, you are eating very well, enjoying, beginning to feel the feel of the nature, Africa, power. So, if you look at the Kenyans, how many Kenyans now who were given a free visa, you used to cry you want to go to South Africa. Why are you not going? Why? If you look at South African airline, Kenya Airways going to Johannesburg, some of the seats are empty. There's no full flight. Now you have been given the permission to go for free. Kenya Airways is doing more advertisements. Wonder, to come the flight, they are reducing even the fare. But hakuna Mkenya anaenda huko, anasikia story hizi za xenophobia, anasikia story ya blackout. There is someone called what? Shed loading.
Load shed.
This is the word even on South African television. 4, 5, 6, 7, short loading. Then now, from there, the anger begins. Instead of the anger looking at the government, they look at Matsanga and the Wanda and the Zimbabweans who are there. They said they are the ones who have stolen the electricity. Hey, and they killed them. This is happening in life. They are killing. They are taking people out of hospital. Miriam, this is the Africa you have. I don't think the Kenya government is as cruel as South African government that it goes to hospital to look for a Zimbabwean. If you are speaking Shona or Ndebele, get out of the hospital. Where do you go? You are sick. The wound is leaking. It is going to kill you tomorrow. Is it Africa that we want? A scramble for Africa has come. Look at the 3 envoys who came. We went to South Africa, Russia, European Union, then America.
And the Chinese also did that. Foreign affairs.
Eh?
The Chinese foreign affairs, the new foreign affairs minister. I don't know if he went to South Africa, but I think it was.
He's also there. So look at the diplomacy. Why is it? It's a scramble. A scramble for a fresh scramble for Africa. All of them in one place. And look at the speeches they made. The European Union speech was a threat, threatening South Africa. That if you go closer to those, we shall hammer you sanctions.
Because South Africa was going to carry out military drills with
Yes,
Russia and China.
that if those things violate this, that we shall have sanctions. America came point blank and said, no, we don't want you to be there. We don't want you to go there because you are our partner. We don't want you to go that side. Russia said, you are welcome. We can deliver even free oil for this, sort out this mess of power. There's no power blackout in Moscow. Is there blackout in Moscow? You call it underdeveloped, but is there blackout in Moscow? Has Moscow got falls in Orange River?
But Moscow is not underdeveloped. It's developed.
No, that is some people in the West call it underdeveloped. That's because it doesn't have the. Hey, I don't want to say those words. Let's keep it that way. So one of the things that kills Africa, to me, Miriam, is we seek legitimacy. As soon as a leader is elected on the continent, the first flight is not African Union. The first flight is London or America. If I were a leader, my first flight will be India. Because Indians don't go and call more. Indians, when they come with goodies and they work very hard. I was reading a story of an Indian boy who goes to Jakat. Is it called?
Jomo University of Science and Technology.
I don't know these things.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Jomo Kenyatta University of Science and Technology.
Kenyatta University
Jomo
of
Kenyatta.
Science and Technology,
Yes, JKUAT.
JKUAT. Yes. I was reading a story from a friend of mine, a lady, who said that's the truth. A black man, a black student in that university who does the same subject, who goes to that university, and an Indian student who goes to that university, both of them during recess, they do different things. The Indian comes to look after the shop in Kirinyaga Street. The African is asking you to take him to Mombasa. Daddy, I want to go for a holiday in Mombasa. A holiday where? Mombasa. But the Indian is reading the books and at the same time managing the fathers. In fact, it tells the father, you can go for your holiday. I will manage the shop. The African does not. Miriam, all these children that we are growing up to today, none of them will tell you, I want to sit down and write for you. I'm lucky that my daughter, my last born, and all of them, they used to help me on some of the things. I say, I've written my essay, check the English. Check my English. Then she said, how much? Eh? This one is in London. So we have, no, honestly, this is the generation we have today. This is my daughter. She said, Dad, yes, thank you very much, but time, I'm a lawyer. She's saying, looking, I am now a lawyer, time, I'll check, how much? Voila. So the best thing I have done is to put her on salary. Monthly. Let her get it. If it doesn't do anything for me, it's better to keep yourself safe. But you can see the generation of an African and the generation of Britain. Luckily enough, she is well conversed with Britain. All of them are conversed with UK. You know, what happens in the UK, what is going on. They can find jobs. They have found their own jobs. They are working. They are earning their living. That's okay. But imagine the generation we have in Africa. Tell one person that I have got you a farm to go, and now you have finished JKUAT. Is it JKUAT? JKUAT. I want to give you a farm in Moro. He said, Dad, what did you say? Why don't you hire somebody to be in that farm? Now, that's why we can't have food production in this country. We are creating people for white-collar jobs that don't exist. So where are we? We are gone. So as far as Africa is concerned, there are 3 tenets that have arrived on our continent, and I take them in this order. One, commercialization of Africa, African conflicts. African conflicts have been commercialized. You are peaceful, but the Qatar comes to tell you, what did you have?
So manufactured conflicts.
Yes, it's manufactured. Yeah, come on. I was coming to that. Now you have killed my second point. A manufactured conflict that creates a product called commercialized conflict. Now you manufacture a conflict in DRC Congo, in Goma, tell the Congolese to hate Kenyatta, for example, because he went and spoke Swahili somewhere. Commercialize it. Then you come and say, you have manufactured a conflict there now. Then later on now, Qatar comes in and said, no, you people, we can quickly sort this out. So who is telling Qatar, Miriam, who is telling Qatar that go and call President Kagame and call Tshisekedi to Doha? Who? Maybe this expert, Mr. Wanda, and this one, and Wesonga, can you tell us? We still have good minutes here before we end. Maybe you'll help us. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So anybody checking the talent, I'm still waiting for my answer. Wanda, Elvis, who is telling Qatar to summon? Who is this one with a network in which is beyond the East African community, which has a head of state noted that we shall establish an East African standby force, stabilization force. And now someone calls two presidents of East Africa to come to his home. Who is telling them? Try. Let me go to the Chikewe Songa first, as you think, as the Elvis. The Chikewe Songa, the investigative journalist. Can you tell us? You have been so quiet. Daniel, have you gone to sleep? It looks like.
You called him
Elvis,
cheeky.
let's try.
It's big cheeky, like you've called him. I don't know.
Yeah, he has been very cheeky this morning. I don't know why. I'm telling you, he's in Kisumu. That's why the network is not coming. Elvis, yes.
I look at the allies of Qatar, that what we are experiencing right now in Africa and the rest of the world is simply the geopolitical realignments, the geoeconomic realignments. And the friends of Qatar in this case, I believe that they are not too close to Russia, neither are they too close to China. Because Russia and China are now good friends. I not mention a specific nation because this is just an alleged, supposedly. But I'll only now go to the list of who are these allies of Qatar. But as I look at who are these allies of Qatar, I'll be so sure that chances are this person or this nation is not friends with a country like Russia. And therefore, I don't have a specific answer on who exactly is this nation. It is probably China, or it is probably not China. It could be USA. I don't know. But I just know this is a power from outside. And this power from outside is coming in because nations are now realigning themselves on who will this that I'll be able to do business with. And if from the East, Qatar is a replacement of China, then Qatar will be promoted, elevated, so that it will be able to negotiate or do business in future to try and compete with a country like China. But in this case, it is a supposedly. I'm only trying to think loudly.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Masanga.
Yes. Okay, you tried. Let's go to Daniel. Are you back there?
Yes, Dr. Masanga. Sorry, my network was not quite stable. Now, I look at Qatar as an overambitious, Middle Eastern country, because when you look even in the Middle East, Qatar has been isolated by its neighbors. And this is because sometimes it oversteps on their sovereignty in that it funds very subversive activity in some of its neighbors. Look at where Yemen today is. Look at where Syria is. And one thing that doesn't come by surprise is that Qatar is actually involved in some of these crises that are in the Middle East. And to me, today, I think Qatar has been playing a very, very major role, even in the crisis that we are experiencing today in Africa, in major parts of Africa, the northern, most of the Sahel region, and some parts of South Africa. So I think, Dr. Matsanga, to me, Qatar is a country that is so much hell-bent in getting into the leagues of America, France, and that is only not in a good way, but in a way that will be able to stabilize countries that it sets its focus in, and more so it's for its own individualistic benefit. So to me, I don't think it's a country that should be tolerated in Africa. In as much as we've seen in the past few months, even African leaders from West Africa, trying to cement their working relationship with Qatar. But the history of Qatar is similar to that of France, and that is why I agree with you strongly, and that is from your statement, saying that wherever you see Total Energy from France, you'll always see Qatar there as well. And I think they have some kind of symbiotic relationship where they share even their styles of getting dominance in certain regions in Africa and in the Middle East. And that is only through sabotage. I submit.
Miriam, thank you very much. Can you try? People, thank you very much. You have come closer, yet not too far, not very far. Miriam, try.
Yeah, of course.
Someone is ordering Qatar.
We saw Qatar was the one that was mediating on behalf of, I was hosting the Taliban on behalf of the US and these other powers. So there during the negotiations, you saw how that happened, and Talibans are back in Afghanistan. And they've just realized that leading a country is really hectic because things are really going not so good as the international community abandoned, that country. So it is possible because, France has fallen out with what do you call it, Rwanda in recently, and we know they have interest, and Rwanda has been a very valuable partner for them. So there are possibility that could be they're using Qatar to try to bring these countries together, because as much as they want to pretend like they're falling out with Rwanda, they still need Rwanda to do some of their dirty work. So there could be a possibility that perhaps the US could be involved, or France, but these are just allegations. Not sure, but there could be possibilities.
Miriam, you hit the nail on the head. It is not allegations. Just, I want you to go to Mozambique. Open up Mozambique, Cape Delgado. Just Google it there. Mm-hmm. Find out which company has sold what to who. Mm-hmm. Total Energies has sold all its rights to Qatar. There is now friction between the South African land, a company called Land of South Africa, which also came in Cape Delgado to take some of the proceeds of the materials, of the wells, the hot gas, the the oil ridges, there is a friction there. So the country, in short, all of you are very right. You should have just said is France. France manufactures a problem, commercialize the conflict. Who is buying the diamonds from DRC Congo? Wacha tuambiane ukweli hapa. Who is buying the diamonds? Have you seen that company, Miriam? It is on Punchline Radio. You will see down there. They are buying. They have just sold all the shares to Qatar's company. And you remember Qatar created, there was a serious international indictment when Saudi Arabia said Qatar is the one that exported ISIS into Mozambique. How would a country without human rights record come to Africa, 7,000 kilometers away in Tungoma, to negotiate peace when East African community is negotiating with its troops? Ours is a matter of safeguarding the interests of the Kenyan troops that are in Congo. Because if this confusion comes of Qatar, the gold, the diamonds, the minerals, somewhere we lose our people. And now we can see mercenaries being brought in. Are they going to fight under the East African Stabilization Force? Has Congo also withdrawn from this arrangement? Has it nullified the agreements? Miriam, have you got it now? Still a problem?
Yeah, because the results are getting quite different, but I'm still looking. Go ahead.
So, you look at all these things, they bring you not only anxiety, but they bring you a very big, it can bring you a lot of stress and depression.
I didn't even know that the BP, the British energy giant, was also there. I think this is an article from December, and it also has a stake there, the British liquefied natural gas. They also have they're also there. And of course, the American farm and others. So it appears it's a whole interest in these multinational companies that have interest there. But I'm trying to look for Doc, the story that you've shared.
The companies that are in the Cape Delgado, any Spain, Total Energies,
France,
ExxonMobil Corporation,
the US,
Mitsui and the company, Empresa Nacional, the Habrogregate, that is NH, Japan Oil Company, the Natural Gas Oil India. So if you look at that and add Qatar, you can see the companies they are here. That now Total Oil, after the war is ended, after they paid, you remember they paid through they gave France. The European Union has no money. So Qatar now sponsored France to pay Mr. Kagame off for his soldiers, and then they have now sold all the their properties to, yes. Just Google Total Energies Qatar deal, you'll see.
Even is it Thailand also? I can see their names there. It's a whole companies there. Anyway. Okay. In January, the British government funded about 1.15 billion US dollars for a liquefied natural gas project in Mozambique. That was just a couple of days ago. And other countries, yeah.
Now you go Qatar Total Energy, the first company selected to partner with Qatar Energy. You see? You are seeing that? Just Google Total Oil and Energies. Total Energies, the first company with Qatar. Just Google that. You'll see. Everything is there. Total Energies Qatar. Look at that. There you are. I don't speak when I don't have facts. They have taken over what Nani used to have. Now, Total Energies Qatar. You see, they have formed a company, Total Energies Qatar. It supports the youth. It supports, it is rubbish. Supports the youth to kill us. No? Look at the projects. It has come under that. And we are in chaos. So in short, manufactured conflict produces commercial conflict. And that commercial conflict, if you look at how much, who buys, for example, Miriam, if I may ask, who buys the diamonds from Ngoma? Recently, President Museveni found he has 12 million metric tons of gold.
In Uganda, as a
and then he asked the Ministry of Minerals, how much money do we have in this? They told him it's 600 billion. He said, only 600 billion? So then they told him, how much is the gold? 13 trillion shilling, Kenya dollars, a trillion shillings. So President Museveni said, you know what? It is impounded. It's not going anywhere. That why should we sell our gold for 600 billion when the person who did not even have gold and a certificate is going to get a royalty and take 13 trillion Kenya shilling, Uganda shillings, which is a lot of dollars. That's the situation. That's why conflicts in Africa continue to be there. There are companies that are in Qatar Stock Exchange that don't have even one gold mine of a toilet where there is gold has hidden in a toilet, perhaps. Mr. Wanda, if gold hides in a toilet, probably. One country in Africa doesn't even have one, but it is on stock exchange in Qatar selling evidence. Walai, walai. I found out all these things, and I wake up always at 4, and I am on these things. And the good thing with London, there is no information hidden. If you want to Chatham House, it will give you the document that you see. Yesterday, this company is grown up. It is a nation called so and so in Africa. It has no gold mines, but it has more money.
Rivers, but it's not enough to put us out there in the map. But you know,
so there is gold in the game.
There's a place where they, but it's not so much. You know, that's why it's not talked about. But I hear the people who
no, maybe because we have not, Miriam, maybe because we have not done the survey, geological survey.
Yeah.
We have not done geological. Honestly, there could be more gold. You see where this lake is. People must have just feared to dig back further than that. I want to tell you something which is happening in your country, about the water. These tall buildings that are coming out are competing on water. The borehole, if you dig less, the other house will not have water. If you dig deeper than the other one, this other house, now everybody is going back to dig very soon. And you know, Nairobi is not a very good area where we should start drilling so much the way they are drilling. And you know, the city county councils are looking at you. You are giving certificate to drill. One day you might be drilling where all of us, God forbid, people are in the town. This is a place where water is a waterlogged. You can't do an underground railway. But here we are digging deep. Every building that is coming, Kampala, the same. Every building that is coming in Kampala now, you never know you are drawing the Lake Victoria. You know, they have already started taking sand. Is it serious? So it's a commercialized conflict. Look at someone selling sand from Lake Victoria. Sand in bags, and it passes through your country up to Mombasa. Sandy, Chinese. So who is to blame? Are these the Chinese who are looking for the goods, or we Africans who are drenching the lake? A lake like Lake Victoria, whose sand has never been drenched for millions and the millions and the millions of. Now, who has discovered the usefulness of that sand, Miriam? They have done research. They came and collected samples. They know what is inside. And then Africans have gone for it. The way they are killing each other there on the beaches. Sure, you can't believe it. And so here we are. That is the Africa we have. Miriam, you have some words I can see them killing.
Yeah, because you've asked then, I think you asked also that question before, who is to blame? For me, we always have ourselves to blame, period. We are our own problem. We allow these things to happen, so.
Me, the only thing that I would like, as we end this show, we would like to play a clip of one of Professor Pierre Lumumba for just a few minutes. My colleague. Play that clip of Pierre Lumumba. Cut it when I say stop, then Miriam will leave about 3 minutes. We close and go home. Listen to that speech of Pierre Lumumba.
The new scramble for Africa is a little bit more different. It is not, they will allow us to have our leaders. We'll elect our presidents. We'll elect our governors. We'll have our ministers. That will happen, but they are not bothered. After we have elected them, you'll then see them sending their arrows ahead. You'll see Bill Gates come and meet your president. You'll see Tony Blair come and meet your president. You'll see Macron come and meet your president. You'll see all of them. And then they will never admit, but they'll be told, if you want money in agriculture, behave this way. If you want money in this area, behave this way. They will never tell that to the Chinese. They will never tell that to the Indians. They will never tell that to the Vietnamese. They will never tell that to the Koreans. But in Africa, they tell us. That is why, as I speak to you now, under this new scramble, the IMF and the World Bank are back, telling you who to hire in your universities, what to sell and what not to sell. It is a sad situation. So today, as I look at Africa in that new scramble, the Chinese are here. I hope that this institution was not built by the Chinese. The Turks are here. The British are here. The French are here. The Qataris are here. The Americans are here. This time round, they are so subtle that we don't even recognize them, but they control us. What are we going to do about it in order to develop? We must do something. And if we don't do that thing else, you who have been trained in this institution, you have traveled the world. You have traveled Nigeria. There are two things that you can do with your traveling. You can marvel. Says it is great in China. You can marvel. You can wonder or feel.
Thank you very much, Miriam. It summarizes our speech, our program today. IMF is telling you who to hire, how many policemen you should have, how many army officials you should have, how many teachers you should have, how many meals you should eat per day. So is this a new scramble for Africa? Qatar, China, France, America, all of them have come back in another format. And given in the near future, the investors coming to Africa to buy our commodities, the land, invest to grow crops. They will grow more crops, overtake us, export these crops for the feeding of the families across, and we shall be importing from them manufactured goods to come down to our place before we survive. That's the Africa we are on. But the only blame that we should blame is we blame ourselves, as Miriam said, we blame the African Union. My life, my center, my life centers on African Union. And on that note, I'd like to ask Stephen to extract all the African Union documents, all of them in order, and work on them, send them to me in a good letter, organize them. We want to, the African Union Summit starts on 14th, on 15th, 16th, up to 17th. For this first time, I will be in Addis Ababa, and I will be launching a reformation axis. I will be in the capital city myself. So please, can you do that for me? I'll talk to you later on. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Punchline Africa Television, today Africa Watch. Africa Watch. We have watched Africa. We have warned you. Wonder your last word as you go to be hammered in a Shemegi Dapi.
No, tunachapa Miriam. My parting shots. Africa is a great continent, very powerful continent. But but the sons and daughters of Africa, and especially those that went to school, and indeed they got an education, they got a tool to look at issues, analyze issues, and be able to tell what is good and what is not good. They should not let the continent destroy or the continent completely get lost. What is happening today in Africa is that the learned class of Africans have decided to compete with each other. They have introduced the very competition to the nations competing each other, and in so doing, Africa gets getting lost every single minute, every single day. Let us get together so that we'll be able to harness our potential. We'll be able to not just let go of what we have and allow others from outside get whatever we have. Then we end up being baptized as the beggars of the continent, the poorest continent in the world. Whereas in the reality, we are the richest continent in the world. I yield.
Thank you very much, Daniel Wesonga. As we wind up.
Thank you so much, Dr. Matsanga David. And of course, my opinion has always been that Africa has been misused, has been abused, and disfranchised in every kind of manner since the pre-colonial period. Africa has fought in the world wars. Africa has been entangled in conflicts that do not concern the least of the African people's needs or maybe aspirations. But even today, in as much as we talk about the past, Africa is still entangled in these conflicts that do not really matter to the African people. Proxy wars that have deprived the continent of its development has taken a lot of time.
Okay. We have lost you again.
Developmental, yeah. And are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we hear you.
Oh, okay, thank you so much. So to me, I think it is time Africa reawakens and it realizes that we are actually being used as pawns in this war between the West and the East, and therefore we should retract back and be able to talk about a future for Africa where Africans will be able to determine their own destiny. I submit.
Thank you very much. As I come to Miriam, all of you get a pen and a paper. Are you ready? Pen and a paper, please. I want to teach you something today, which is, Miriam, you got it? Something, and all the people in the studios in Nairobi, and all of you, to reach the age I have reached, this is what you should do. When you are tired, take a nap. When you are sad, dance Lingala or any music. Miriam doesn't like Lingala, but dance. Take it seriously, Miriam, and you will see how you will reach Matsanga's age. When you are stressed, walk. When you are angry, just exercise. Like this, box, box, box. When you are burnt out, get your book, books in my study room, in my house. I pick a book of CIA or Mossad or KGB or Russian or no, Cuban intelligence. I read all the history. When you are feeling lost, then come back to Almighty. Umepotea kwa forest, like Manchester United. Napotea kwa forest. When you are overthinking, because I see everybody. I hope you have written this Wanda Ellipse, especially. Wanda Ellipse and Daniel. Daniel, you are one of those who works very hard Daniel, are you listening to me, my son? Daniel?
Yes, Doc, I'm getting you clearly.
When you are feeling lost, get a Bible. Always buy your Bible. Stay with it. Read Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. Very nice. Or go to St. Luke. It is the only book that is very exciting. Then if you are overthinking, start writing. One day you're a writer, you are published, you're a publisher. Start writing. What time do you start writing? I start writing at 4 a.m. when Miriam, that time she is dreaming towards the Gaza Strip, the Gaza Strip, and the Mali, Bamako. You know, Miriam is an expert of Bamako. This is a West African state. Coup, military coup, another one coming. Nathanga is writing. Then the last thing, if you are anxious, meditate. Meditate. If you say, I am a wrong man, I didn't give you this advice, you try to see how everything, especially our boss there, general manager, are you hearing me? All of you there, right in Nairobi, thank you very much. Look at those points, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The 8 lifelines of a human being. You will produce, if you take a nap, you take music, you dance, you walk, you exercise, you read, you pray, you write, you meditate. You reach 68 years or beyond. I'm now 68. And when Mr. Wanda looks at me, says, baby face, you might think he's my brother. I've called him Dr. Mathanga. Daniel, Miriam, are you not amused that I know these things? Give me a credit, Mama, and wind up. You had a point parting shot for us on Africa. That is all I wanted to pass on to impact information. In fact, Miriam, what I would like you to do, type it in big letters and pin it. Pin it somewhere there. Some people bring you stress. Apple. Wanakuletea stress. Not you. Apple. Wanaleta stress. Pin it in big letters. Unamuona, unamwambia sasa wewe enda wake up. Pick the book. Go outside in the tree.
This is a stress-free environment.
You are defending the indefendable. But it is all right. God bless you. You would say you are parting short and Africa is under the scramble. Okay. It is being scrambled for a manufactured conflict that ends up to be a commercial conflict. Yeah. Commercialized, manufactured, then commercialized. And that's what Qatar is doing in Democratic Republic of Congo. Those who have ears, hear me. Those who don't have ears, continue to prick mine and call me the bad names, but read Matthew chapter 10, verse 14. That if you don't listen to what I've said, Jesus has commanded and said, just go away. But I can't go away when Africa. The Philippians chapter 4, verse 10 again, said, I'm writing this letter to my Philippians. You remember Paul's letter to the Philippians? That there is danger coming. You will be persecuted. Africa is on the hammer of persecution. Miriam, from my end, Charo.
Okay, thank you. I think from the points you've shared there, the one that I've really picked is take a nap, so I'm going to do that just now. Thank you so much.
No, but are they helping a bit?
Nap does wonders to me, so I agree with you on that.
Thank you very much.
And reading. So also tomorrow,
Wanda,
God
you
willing.
think this is correct?
No.
No, Wanda, from your expression in the face, there is anxiety. And this guy here has not opened up his window. I would see his face. You see, he's laughing because these things touch, they have touched. Don't be anxious. Then things will come in place. If it is money, think of it, pray, it will come. So that you can reach 68.
100%. Doc.
If you can see the money that Matanga touched hands and it is not there. But if you can see the number of friends who find me on the street and say, you see that guy there? What was his bill? In a restaurant, you sit like this. You want to go and pay the bill. Say, sir, Dr. The bill has been paid. You say, who paid? The guys who were here paid your bill. But if I tell you the amount of money I've ever handled that has gone in my hands, you will get not even an African sword, the Japanese sword, and a cut me. Eh? And one of the worst things that you don't do as people who are married, either outside, don't discuss too much things of money with your partner. Either you're a man or a woman. I'm an editor now of the clan. Please avoid money issues in the home, especially the month of January. Avoid it. The suitcase will be on the Uber and one of them will be gone. Avoid it. Let it reach February again. When it comes to February about 10th, spare some money for buying the flower. Those you people who buy flowers like a Wanda and a Wesonga. For me, I don't buy flower. Miriam knows my category. I'm a very dangerous bad boy. I can't buy you flowers for the person who used to kill people in Italy. That you are celebrating Valentine's Day. No way. You will never get it from Dr. Masai. Thank you very much. Those who are wishing to waste money on the flowers, let the flowers from Naivasha go up to all the places in Europe. They need them. But to me, if you want flowers, I'll go to the garden and pull the whole thing and bring it. It is stressful. It is good that this week, this month, next month, the Valentine's Day falls on Tuesday. Mungu asante sana. Because if it falls on Friday, tuko na shida, kazi imeisha. Wanataka kupanda ndege. I think we better bring back our social media, please. Now I think you've seen the job of our topics. If you look at that TV of News Central, Miriam, have you had a look at it? The type of topics that they have designed, they touch you as an African. And they thank me, Dr. Matang, for having told them, change the format. That's why you see me all the time. I'm more or less a partner, but not a partner with money, but a partner in, they can't refuse me to be interviewed. They can't refuse my proposal. That's very good. And it is, do you know who owns it? A lady. Very tall madam from Nigeria. Very beautiful lady. She owns it. She started on, we should also start on this type of thing and go ahead from our own big enterprise that supports Africa. Our topics are now very crucial media. If you look at the Kenyan television, they are either, I don't know what they are showing now, a big tear gas or this, what, you know, there's not, no material is lost. You can't. So when Peter bring back some of these topics, like talking about how relationship is, how to control, don't fight your wife. Don't fight your husband. Just walk away. Matsanga, if you start a fight, I get my kids and I go to the pub in London and I drink. Then those days when I used to drink, I get drunk. And then they say, I can't drive the Range Rover back to the house. He says, you're stupid. Look at this stupid man. Okay, fine, but if I leave it here, they will steal and all of us will suffer. Go, you come for it. Okay, we are coming. Where are you? Get out! Quickly understand that the car. But that is, you have to look here, wind up giving you. You have solved a very big problem. Don't fight a wife. Don't fight a woman. They are deadly. Hata kama anakuwa mubamba namna hizi. Dangerous. Nakwambia wewe, you don't walk away. Say, darling, it's okay. Thank you. Look at this one, big stomach. Okay, fine. And these big legs. Okay. And that is, if this is not very good advice, thank you. Your husband, your wife, whatever it is, don't quarrel. Violence does not solve. And especially when you have children in the house, they watch. Say, why are you harassing mom? And you know, some of these children wait until you are alone, two of you. You have taken her to eat McDonald's outside. I said, but dad, excuse me, you and the mom, why do you always quarrel? And you have no words to answer. You see, but you see, I see you loud, you talk loudly. So when your child reaches to tell you that, please, thank you very much. As an elite of Africa, I think those are some of the things that I can pass on. Whoever can get this clip is all right. This station, therefore, is for Africa with Africa by Africa. Child.
Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The sun does not shine on itself, and flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature. We are all born to help each other. No matter how difficult it is, life is good when you are happy, but much better when others are happy because of you.